Hello, STEM Socialites. I'm Nancy, and welcome back to Eclipsing the Ordinary, a Creator's Canvas Eclipse series. Today, we have a guest who is a shining example of how science and fashion can collide in amazing ways. I am so excited to have Athena Brensberger joining us. She is an astronomer, a science communicator extraordinaire, and a successful fashion model. Athena brings the cosmos down to Earth in a truly unique way. So we're going to dive into her world. Welcome, Athena.
Hey, Nancy. Thank you so much for having me.
So excited that you were here. So thank you for spending some time with us and our STEM socialites. We would love to know about how did you first actually get involved in space? I mean, you're super passionate about this. Where did that first spark for you?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love hearing the different stories and answers to this question, first of all, from so many different space enthusiasts, because it's always so unique. Um, Mine really first started at about age 11 when we were assigned in my science class to pick a book from the bookshelf and to present on it to the class. And I grabbed this book of a bunch of images taken by the Hubble Space Telescope. But I didn't know at this time that these were real images. I didn't know anything about the Hubble Space Telescope. I didn't know much about space really by this age. And I just thought that these were a bunch of artists like paintings and different types of graphics. And I really just thought it was a bunch of artwork until I started reading a little bit through it more. And I had a friend of mine say to me, like, no, these are real images. And what this is that you're looking at is what we live inside of. Like, we're on a planet, but we're in a solar system and we are within a giant galaxy that is filled with tons of other stars like our sun and tons of other planets that are probably like Earth. There's probably a few out there similar to Earth. And so like at 11 years old, I just like had this mind explosion moment. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is insane. Like this is incredible. Like I just started to really fathom just how big the universe is, what the universe is. And I just remember thinking like, I have got to study this in some way or another. I got to pursue this field one day in my future. And yeah, the passion started there and it just hasn't stopped.
I love that. I love, especially, seeing all of those images. And what's amazing is having those images available, right? There used to be just drawings and books to guess kind of what everything was looking out in, like in the cosmos. So you are also a fashionista. You are a model. So can you talk a little bit about how you went down that career path?
Yeah, well, I grew up in New York City. So also why I discovered the cosmos through a book rather than looking up at the night sky
Mm,
because we had a lot of light pollution.
that's
So yeah. And so growing up in Brooklyn, which is, born and raised, I was exposed to so much of the fashion industry. And it was just, I mean, New York is truly like the melting pot of not just
yeah.
food and different cultures, but of fashion. And I always loved the theater. Like I have been a dancer since I was 3 years old. I loved being on the stage,
Cool.
always loved acting. And I thought I was like first approached to model and I thought, maybe I should potentially do this because it could really open the door for acting and theater. And so I said yes to pursuing this industry. But it started when I was working at a part-time job at Aeropostale in Times Square. And a woman and her daughter came in, really just shopping. And when they were leaving, they asked if I model. And well, really the mom did. And I said, no, like I don't. It's like at that time I was like, it's so superficial. Like, I don't want to do it. Didn't really understand much about truly what I would say is the art form of what it is to be the
Sure.
human in the, the kind of like this idea that the artist, the photographer, the designer of the clothing, whatever it is, they're trying to create an art piece and the model is playing a role in that art piece. And I didn't really understand it in this way before. I
Mhm.
really sort of looked at it as, oh, it's this superficial thing that's tied to ego. And I said no at first. And then they're like, well, here's my business card in case you change your mind. And her business card was from America's Next Top Model. And I was like, huh. And she's like, we're only doing, like castings this year based on invite only. So like, come by and let us know. So I decided to go. I was like, let me just give this a chance. I decided not to go through with the show, went through the audition, even like got chosen to be one of the top 12, was given the contract to review, and decided not to do it, and got some really awesome advice from my mom, which was, hey, like if they're saying yes to you and think that you have something here, maybe you should try that on your own and try and pursue and sign to an agency, build your own portfolio on your own. So that's exactly what I did. Fast forward, following year, I found a casting for a Fashion Week show online. It was New York Fashion Week, and ended up booking the job. And that's where I got scouted. So I got scouted at this show for 2 different modeling agencies. One of them became my mother agent, who is sort of like your main manager, and sent me overseas to model internationally. And it was just such an incredible journey. I mean, I did that for 10 years, and I got to go to about 10 countries total, modeling. And I think what I enjoyed the most about it was you can visit a country and be there for a vacation, but to live in a country, in an apartment with other people from different countries around the world who don't speak English, or maybe their first language isn't English, is just such a wonderful experience, because it can be kind of uncomfortable almost sometimes to, come across like the clashing that can happen between just cultures. I mean, it's what culture shock is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's so wonderful to experience. It's so humbling. And I think more people should probably experience it. So I'm really grateful that I got to experience that, especially through a career like modeling. And it was such a cool journey. Really was.
That is awesome. That is just so exciting. Gosh, what a journey. So do you find that you actually translate some of those skills that you've learned in modeling with your science communication and also with your astronomy?
Yeah, surprisingly, I do. And I say surprisingly because for so long I thought of them as 2 totally separate things in my life.
Sure.
I found it very hard to do both, especially at the same time. I mean, I paused my schooling, like doing my undergraduate, just so I could pursue this modeling career because it was just so demanding of my time. And so was astronomy. And I really wanted to be able to give both of them my full attention. And I just couldn't do it together. So I found this really kind of nice hybrid where I continued my own sort of schooling on my own without, being set to deadlines. I found a whole bunch of courses online, mainly through like Coursera, EDX, a lot of free courses, some paid, but just to sort of keep that, the little science sharpness tool in my head kind of going, while also pursuing modeling. And what's so cool is I was able to then take the people skills and the communication skills I started to gain through the fashion industry. So it wasn't just, being silent and, taking photos or being quiet on set. It was being expressive, especially when we did commercials. It was learning different flexions with your voice and how to sort of change up your tone and be a little bit more like passionate or a little bit more calm, or, so you're kind of just working through that capacity. And I started to learn, these communication skills that I just did not expect to gain through the fashion industry, but also the acting industry as well. And it's just entertainment in general. And so combining that with my schooling that I was getting, so whether it was from Coursera or from YouTube, I decided to create my brand, Astro Athens. I was like, why don't I just start recording videos and start to just talk about things that I'm passionate about, things that I really like, and started learning. Oh, thank you so much for popping that up on there. And one thing I would say too, and something I'd recommend to anybody who wants to pursue science communication, would be to volunteer at a museum. This was something really huge for me at the time. I volunteered at the Intrepid, in New York City. It's a giant aircraft carrier that has the space shuttle. You know it. Okay.
I love the Intrepid.
Oh, it's so amazing. It's so amazing. And I was mainly like the main spokesperson at the space shuttle pavilion where the Enterprise was. So there was like several volunteers there. I was one of the volunteers. And there were people doing demos on stage. And then there were, several communicators spread out throughout the museum. And I would constantly get people throughout my 4-hour shift just coming by, whether it's big groups of kids or a lot of international tourists also. We got so many tourists from overseas. And that also helped me with communicating through, more expression through the face, through hands, without going into more technical terminology, which you could still do. I mean, it's
Sure.
You want to still obviously speak like that. But I've had many people kind of come to me and just be like, all right, break this down in like, a quick 1 to 2, sentences so that I can understand what's going on with, with the space shuttle. Yes, exactly. And so I would kind of like get rid of all the jargon, the scientific jargon, and I would kind of hone in on specific words that are important that can still help them learn a bit about, just this amazing piece of equipment that brought, that one didn't bring people to space because it was the prototype, the Enterprise, but the ones that came afterwards is what brought people to space. And that was really important. So anyway, so doing all this together was like really awesome. And it was kind of hard, but I made it work.
That's amazing. Did you wear like your modeling outfits while you were doing it?
I was doing them on set a few times. I filmed videos on set and it was really fun. And mainly because this is when I first started kind of realizing the cross bridges, I think, between this like space industry or just the sciences as well as the art industries. So like the various like entertainment, artists, music. There were so many makeup artists, hairstylists, other models, photographers who had studied something within the sciences. Some of them had degrees in STEM. Some of them were just really passionate about it. And it was like one of their biggest hobbies was to like watch cosmos, go outside with their telescope, gaze up at the stars. Some of them were like, oh man, I was torn between doing this or going and getting my PhD in like, aerospace engineering. And it's really fascinating. And that kind of clicked for me of how this, kind of stereotype I had growing up, thinking like, you got to be naturally really good at this. And if you're not, you got to do something else. And I'm like, or that exactly what you're going to do and you're going to stick to that your whole life. Other stereotype where that's not the case.
Right.
I mean, that's not human. That's not being human. Sometimes that's the case. Maybe that is for some people. But a lot of times it's not. A lot of times, like, we are such deep beings. We're such a creative species. And we're so multifaceted. And I think that we can, have so many different types of interests and skills. And it's not just about having different interests, but you also could change that at any point in your life. And I think that that's what's so amazing. What really kind of clicked for me that day was just meeting so many different people. I remember the day too that it really like happened. The makeup artist I was working with was a makeup artist for Neil deGrasse Tyson on one of his episodes for Cosmos. And I just remember talking to him the whole time, just being like, this is just so epic. And we were just talking about everything from like just space exploration in general to try to find aliens to the SETI Institute to, just so many different things. And I think what also I realize is just how curious people are. I mean, that is just so natural to being human, is being very curious. So learned a lot along the way.
I love that. Oh my gosh, what neat experiences. I totally understand what you're saying about the being either we're going to do the fashion thing or we're going to do the science thing. I can't tell you how many times I've heard, this isn't a fashion show. Like, just put something that we have to go. And I'm like, it's always a fashion show. When is it not a fashion show?
Yeah, exactly.
Just going to the store. Well, you never know.
Yeah. Plus, it's so fun. It really is.
Yes,
I mean, sometimes, yes, don't get me wrong, I'll just be wearing a t-shirt and like sweatpants and I'll chill. And like, that's all of us, But if you have that interest in truly looking at fashion with like an artistic eye, do it, embrace it. If other people are trying to stop you because they think that it's not as serious, it's life. It's your life. We only get one, you know,
Exactly.
to our knowledge. And like, and it's just, yeah, it's so silly to hear that. Yeah, but I've been there as well. So I get it.
Well, that's one of the things that we at STEM Socialite really are working to kind of break that stereotype that you can express yourself and in the STEM world and still be taken seriously by your colleagues. So I'd like to shift
Yes.
gears and talk about something that's coming up here very quickly. There's this little celestial phenomenon happening on April 8th, this total solar eclipse. So, why is everybody talking about this?
Well, for one, it's very exciting. It is a really tremendous moment, I think, to sort of just experience. I mean, I haven't experienced a total solar eclipse, but it is a moment that can kind of, I don't know. I think it's just going to feel like really interesting to be in the middle of the day and for the sky to go from total daylight to sunset to total darkness. That alone is, I think, such a cool thing to try and experience, because you can hear so many times what people who've experienced it have said before, where like you start to hear a lot of things go quiet. You start to hear the animals starting to get quiet, kind of wondering what's going on. And I think one, just the coolness of that would be really awesome. Two, they don't happen super often when they stretch throughout the entire US like this. So, specifically talking about the US, yes, they do happen. Like total solar eclipses happen in various parts of the globe. But I think the last time one stretched across to this magnitude, touching this many states, was, believe we could double check this, so don't quote me on it, but I think it was about 1,000 years was the last one where again, hit this many parts of this area of North America. Um, there was the Great North American eclipse a couple of years back as well, and it went the other direction, so it was more west. This one's more east. And it's just, yeah, it's gonna be so awesome. Back in October, we had the annular eclipse. So the annular eclipse and then the total solar eclipse, it really just has to do with how close the moon is to Earth when the eclipse happens. So the moon passes right between the sun and the Earth, but when it's at its perigee, which is its closest point to Earth, it appears a lot bigger. So it actually covers more of the sun. This is when a total solar eclipse will happen. But during the annular eclipse, it's at its apogee, which means it's further away from Earth.
Mm.
And so more of the sunlight is able to pass around the moon itself. And that's where you got that ring of fire. So you're able to see the sun's atmosphere, so the corona, which is like really, really interesting. And I don't know if you were able to see the annular eclipse or not, but it was so cool to witness, and all the pictures were so cool. Yeah. So this one's going to be the total solar eclipse. So we've got now that new moon. It's also in a new moon phase, and it's at its perigee, so really close to Earth, and we're able to see a lot more of the moon's shadow, and so a lot less of the sun. And it should be such a cool experience.
So yeah, that is, I think, one of the exciting reasons, right, that everyone's talking about this. But a lot of people are talking about, well, if you can get to the path of totality, you should try to get to the path of totality. And why is that going to be better versus being able to see what it looks like at your hometown, 400 miles away?
Yeah, I mean, well, if you see a partial eclipse, it's still super cool. It's what I caught in New York in 2017. And if you have like, oh, you too,
Yeah.
nice. So if you got solar eclipse glasses, like it still looks incredible to see the sun and then starting to see it shaped like a crescent moon. It looks like it's shaped like a crescent moon because that's the actual moon, the shadow of the moon being passed in front, and casting that. So all you're able to see is this little sliver of the sun, and it looks so cool. But if you can make your way out to see the actual total eclipse, so make your way to the path of totality, I just think it's going to be so worth it. Again, I haven't seen one just yet. This will be my first one. So I'm really excited. I'm so glad I'm going out to the path of totality. Because again, I think it's going to be a surreal thing to experience that during the daytime.
Oh yeah, completely. I agree. Where are you going to be watching the solar eclipse?
Yeah, so I'm going to be watching it out of Dallas, Texas. So I'm really excited. I will be going live on Instagram. I'm actually going to be out at a cabin in the woods. So very excited about this. It's going to be super, super fun. Already checked the clearing of the area, so it should be really awesome. And I'll be going live at about 1:25 p.m. Central Time.
Okay.
So Central Daylight Time. The eclipse, the totality begins for me, so central time at 1:40 p.m. and it lasts till about 1:50. I'm going to probably go until about 1:55 with the live as well. So yeah, it should be really fun. I have a like solar filter that's going to attach to my iPhone lens.
Oh, cool.
And then I've got my telescope right here that I'm going to use with a solar filter. Do you want me to go get the solar filter and show you?
Yeah,
it's super
we want to see
shiny.
the solar filter.
I love it. It's so shiny. So, okay.
Love new toys.
Yes, same.
Oh,
okay,
wow.
so this is it in the case. And
So why do you need the solar filter for your camera and for your telescope?
I think that the best explanation for this is a video that the space gal made, Emily Calandrelli. She went outside with a balloon, wrote the word retina on it, grabbed a magnifying glass and held it along the balloon. Out in broad daylight, the balloon popped. So that's what's happening to your eyes. If you're looking right at the sun, your eyes are just receiving so many photons from the sun. It's receiving so much UV radiation. It can really cause damage to your eyes, as well as causing damage to my telescope and any phones. So if you try taking a picture with your iPhone, you could be causing damage to the lenses as well. So highly recommend getting some kind of filter. There's different types of filters. I know one of them is that I first looked at sunspots with the telescope. It was in college. It was called an H alpha filter. Don't exactly remember what it's made of. But then there's other filters like this one. Forgot exactly what the material is, but yeah, it helps with just sort of allowing for you to look right at the sun and not have to worry about hurting your eyes or your telescope.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's so exciting. Very, very cool. And
Yeah.
yes, I love her explanation. So we will actually have a link for that in the description below so that you can go watch that because she does a really great job of showing how your eye is a lens, right? And so you're just magnifying and intensifying that to the back of your retina and burning it. And which is interesting because everybody's like, well, the sun's not doing anything different. Why is everybody worried about their eyes? More people are looking at the sun for this event, right? It's a solar event.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, definitely don't want to be looking at the sun.
Are there, so if you were unable to get a pair of these amazing solar glasses, how else could you view the eclipse?
Well, there's one of my favorite DIY experiments or projects is creating a pinhole box projector. And so there's a really great video for this on NASA's website. I also made a video on my Instagram using a coffee box, a box I got from Copper Moon Coffee, one of my favorite coffee brands. And you can use that. You can use a shoebox, you can use a cereal box, and you really just need a few items, aluminum foil, white paper, some tape, and a little pin like this. So this is why it's called pinhole. I just happen to have one right here. Little pin like that. And you're able to project an image of the eclipse happening in the box, and you can look through it safely. You don't need a pair of glasses because as it's passing through, you're not receiving all of that, direct light from the sun. So it's a lot safer to look through in this box. And it's also a lot smaller. So it's only going to be like that size of the pin. And you can watch the entire eclipse happening on the white paper, just as you would watching a movie on a screen.
That's super cool. And you could certainly record that with your phone or another camera, right? With
Yes.
that lens. Awesome.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
So exciting. Um, so one of the things that we have been talking about our guests is anything fun or exciting that they are either designing or wearing during the eclipse. I will be wearing my new amazing eclipse earrings that I got from Cosmic Rosie, and again, we will have links for that down below. But how about you? Are you either coming up with something, wearing something of someone else? What fashion eclipse are you going to be doing in the cabin in the woods?
Hmm. I am not too sure about what to wear. I definitely think I'm going to wear something yellow. I just love the color yellow. Something yellow, maybe with something black, just to sort of represent that moment of eclipse of, when it's going from bright sun to darkness.
Mhm.
I'm not too sure about that. I'm going to have to, you're inspiring me to maybe come up with some kind of outfits using the clothes I've got already. I do have my James Webb earrings, which are nice and shiny and golden. So it kind of makes me think about the sun. But I don't actually have anything that's like the moon and the sun right now. So I'll have to like really come up with something kind of cool for that. But yeah, not too sure. I got to come up with something cool though for the Instagram live, just so it could be a little bit fun. Definitely have my eclipse glasses.
Yep.
But other than that, yeah, no, nothing too crazy as far as
Well,
what I've got planned.
I'm
I bet
sure.
Cosmic Rosie had a lot.
Oh yeah, you'll have to tune in and watch our interview. But yeah, she's got some amazing designs that she has ready to go for anybody who's looking for them to wear to the eclipse, or if you want them kind of as a memento to remember. She's got a great collection. But I can't wait to see what you end up coming up with. So we will tune into your Instagram and your other what channels. I think you're also on TikTok and you're on YouTube.
Yes, yep. TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. I occasionally post on Threads and occasionally post on X or Twitter. And then also my website, astronautha.com. I don't post much on there, but I sometimes do.
No, it's lots of great information to connect with Athena. So make sure you do check that out. And then you can always follow us on STEM Socialite on all your favorite social channels. Athena, thank you so much. This was great being able to talk to you. You're so inspiring. I love your passion for science and fashion. It's contagious. So thank you for joining us on Eclipsing the Ordinary.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Nancy. It's been such a pleasure speaking with you.
Don't forget to mark your calendars for the total solar eclipse on April 8th. And remember, safety first. Use your proper eclipse glasses to protect your eyes while enjoying this once in a lifetime event. And if you're looking for space inspired fashion statements for the eclipse, be sure to follow Athena on social media at Astro Athens. Thanks for joining us, STEM Socialites. Until next time, stay curious and stay couture.